The night was cloaked in darkness as Emma embarked on her solitary night drive. The road stretched out before her, illuminated only by the dim glow of her headlights. The rhythmic patter of rain against the windshield added a sense of mystery and intrigue to the atmosphere. Emma had always found solace in driving at night, a time when the world seemed to slow down and the distractions of the day faded away. Tonight, however, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. The air held a palpable tension, as if the night itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to unfold. As Emma navigated the winding road that led her deeper into the countryside, a sense of curiosity tinged with unease grew within her. The familiar landmarks she had come to know during her nighttime drives seemed distorted, their shadows elongated and twisted, playing tricks on her mind. As she continued on her nocturnal journey, the rain intensified, casting a veil of mist that obscured her vision. The road became treacherous, slippery with water, making the drive even more challenging. Yet Emma persisted, her determination pushing her forward, drawn by an inexplicable force. Suddenly, in the distance, a figure emerged from the darkness, standing in the middle of the road. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she hit the brakes, the tires screeching against the wet asphalt. She peered through the windshield, straining to make out the mysterious figure. It was a woman, clad in a flowing white dress that billowed in the wind. Her long, ebony hair danced around her, creating an ethereal aura. Emma's curiosity overcame her caution as she rolled down the window and called out to the woman. "Are you okay? Do you need any help?" Emma asked, her voice laced with concern. The woman turned toward Emma, her eyes reflecting a haunting sadness. "Please, you must help me," she pleaded. "I am trapped in this eternal night. The only way to free me is to follow the path that lies ahead." Emma hesitated for a moment, torn between the rational voice telling her to turn around and the mysterious pull emanating from the woman. Her adventurous spirit won out, and she nodded in agreement. The woman smiled, a bittersweet expression on her face. "Thank you, brave soul. Together, we shall uncover the truth that has remained hidden in the shadows." With those words, the woman vanished into the night, leaving Emma with a newfound determination. She gripped the steering wheel tightly and continued her night drive, propelled by a mix of anticipation and trepidation, ready to unveil the secrets that awaited her on this enigmatic journey. As Emma pressed on, the road twisted and turned, leading her deeper into the heart of darkness. The rain cascaded down, blurring her surroundings and intensifying the sense of isolation. The air grew heavy with anticipation, as if the night itself held its breath, awaiting their arrival. Through the haze of rain, Emma spotted a faint glow in the distance. Intrigued, she followed the ethereal light, her instincts guiding her towards the unknown. The glow led her to an old, dilapidated mansion that stood in stark contrast to the desolate landscape. Emma parked her car and approached the mansion with caution. The front door creaked open, as if beckoning her inside. With a mixture of trepidation and curiosity, she stepped over the threshold, entering a realm frozen in time. The grand foyer was adorned with faded portraits and dusty furniture. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the only sound was the echo of her footsteps against the weathered floorboards. Emma's heart raced as she ventured further into the mansion, guided by an invisible force. She found herself in a dimly lit library, shelves filled with forgotten tomes and secrets waiting to be unraveled. As her eyes scanned the room, they landed on a peculiar book, its leather cover adorned with intricate engravings. Drawn to it, Emma pulled it from the shelf, feeling a surge of anticipation. As she opened the book, ancient pages whispered with secrets long kept hidden. Words danced across the parchment, revealing a dark history woven within the fabric of the town. Emma's hands trembled as she absorbed the revelations, realizing the sinister forces that had plagued the town for generations. But as Emma delved deeper into the book, she discovered a hidden chapter, pages that had been purposely obscured. The text described a ritual, a malevolent ceremony that had taken place within the mansion itself, It spoke of an ancient curse that bound the souls of the inhabitants to eternal torment. Just as Emma was about to decipher the final steps of the ritual, a bone-chilling gust of wind swept through the library, extinguishing the candles and plunging the room into darkness. The temperature dropped, and a sense of dread hung in the air. From the shadows emerged a figure, a silhouette draped in a tattered cloak. Its voice resonated with an otherworldly tone as it spoke. "You have dared to uncover the truth, Emma. But be warned, the darkness will not release its hold easily. To break the curse, you must confront the spirits that dwell within this mansion." Emma's heart pounded, her pulse quickened as she gazed into the figure's piercing eyes. She knew that in order to lift the curse and bring peace to the town, she would have to face the malevolent spirits that haunted the mansion. Determination welled within her, overriding her fear. "I accept the challenge," Emma declared, her voice steady. "I will confront the spirits and put an end to their torment." With those words, the figure nodded solemnly and vanished back into the shadows. Emma stood alone in the darkened library, armed with newfound resolve and an understanding that the path ahead would test her strength and courage like never before. The rain poured heavily, drenching the desolate streets of the small town. Carl sat behind the wheel of his old beat-up car, contemplating the task ahead of him. He had received a cryptic message earlier that evening, instructing him to embark on a night drive to uncover a long-buried secret. The message hinted at a darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the town, a darkness that only Carl could expose. With a mix of apprehension and curiosity, Carl turned on the engine and pulled out of his driveway. The windshield wipers swiped back and forth, struggling to keep up with the downpour. The streets were deserted, bathed in an eerie silence that sent a shiver down his spine. As Carl navigated through the winding roads, his mind wandered to the history of the town. There had always been whispers of strange occurrences and unexplained phenomena, but they were dismissed as mere folklore. Now it seemed the time had come to confront the truth. The rain beat relentlessly against the car, creating an otherworldly ambience. Carl's grip on the steering wheel tightened as he approached a forsaken bridge on the outskirts of town. The bridge was said to be cursed, its shadows concealing a history of tragedy and malevolence. Despite the nagging sense of foreboding, Carl couldn't resist the allure of the unknown. He took a deep breath, his resolve solidifying. Tonight, he would confront the darkness head-on, regardless of the consequences. As Carl's car crossed the bridge, a chill filled the air. The rain seemed to intensify, blurring his vision. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, standing in the middle of the road. Carl slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding in his chest. The figure, shrouded in a tattered cloak, approached the car. Carl rolled down the window, his voice steady but laced with caution. "Who are you? What do you want?" The figure's eyes gleamed with an unnatural intensity as they spoke, their voice a mere whisper in the night. "I am the keeper of secrets, Carl. I have been watching, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover the truth. Are you that person?" Carl hesitated for a moment, his mind racing. The opportunity to unearth the town's secrets, no matter how terrifying, was too tempting to resist. "Yes," he replied, determination burning in his eyes. "I am ready to face whatever lies ahead." The figure nodded, their face hidden beneath the cloak. "Very well, Carl. Your journey starts tonight. Follow the old forgotten road that leads to the heart of darkness. There, you will find the answers you seek." Before Carl could respond, the figure vanished into the night, leaving him with a sense of both anticipation and trepidation. He knew there was no turning back now. The path to the truth lay before him, and he had to be prepared for whatever horrors awaited him on his night drive. With a resolute spirit, Carl set off on the dark and treacherous path that lay ahead. The rain continued to pour, obscuring his view as he followed the forgotten road deeper into the heart of darkness. The surroundings grew more sinister with every passing mile. the towering trees casting elongated shadows that seemed to dance and whisper in the night. As he drove, Carl couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It was as if unseen eyes peered at him from the depths of the woods, a malevolent presence observing his every move. He pressed on, determined to uncover the truth that had remained hidden for far too long. Eventually, the road led him to a clearing where an ancient cemetery stood, its tombstones weathered and worn. The rain dripped from the branches above, creating an eerie melody that echoed through the silence. Carl parked his car, the engine ticking as it cooled down, and stepped out into the damp, graveled ground. Navigating through the rows of tombstones, he spotted a small mausoleum nestled in the far corner of the cemetery. The structure exuded an air of mystery, its stone walls covered in ivy and secrets. Carl approached cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. With a creak, the heavy door of the mausoleum swung open, revealing a dimly lit chamber filled with the scent of damp earth and decay. Carl's footsteps echoed as he ventured inside, his eyes scanning the room for any clues that might lead him closer to the truth. At the center of the chamber, atop a stone pedestal, rested an ancient tome. Its leather-bound cover was adorned with arcane symbols, hinting at the esoteric knowledge contained within its pages. Carl's hands trembled as he reached out and opened the book, revealing writings that spoke of forgotten rituals, forbidden knowledge, and the price one must pay for unraveling the town's secrets. As he delved deeper into the pages, Carl's understanding of the town's dark underbelly expanded. The missing persons, the unexplained phenomena, they were all connected, part of a sinister web woven by a secret society that thrived on fear and control. Before he could absorb the full weight of the revelations, a cold breeze swept through the mausoleum, extinguishing the flickering candles that illuminated the room. Darkness enveloped Carl, the silence broken only by his rapid breaths. A voice, chilling and familiar, whispered from the shadows, "You have trespassed where few dare to venture, Carl. The truth comes at a price, one that cannot be easily paid." Carl's heart raced as he recognized the voice. It belonged to the figure who had guided him on this harrowing journey, the Keeper of Secrets. "What do you want from me?" Carl asked, his voice filled with a mixture of defiance and desperation. The figure emerged from the darkness, their face now revealed. It was a face Carl had known all his life, his own reflection, distorted and twisted, a reminder of the darkness that resided within him. "I am you, Carl, the part of you that dared to seek the truth, regardless of the consequences." The figure spoke, their voice a haunting echo. "Now, you must decide. Embrace the darkness or be consumed by it." Carl stood at a crossroads, his mind and soul torn between the pursuit of justice and the allure of power. The choices he made in that pivotal moment would define his destiny. It was a moonless night when Sam embarked on a drive that would forever haunt his memory. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying an eerie chill that seemed to penetrate his bones. The road ahead stretched out like a dark ribbon, disappearing into the depths of the night. Sam tightened his grip on the steering wheel, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Sam was an adventure seeker, always in pursuit of new thrills and experiences. This night drive was no exception. He had heard rumors of a haunted stretch of road that lay just beyond the outskirts of town. The stories were shrouded in mystery and whispered in hushed tones among locals. Sam couldn't resist the allure of the unknown, so he decided to investigate for himself. As he navigated through the quiet streets, the glow of streetlights gradually faded away, leaving him in complete darkness. The only source of light was his headlights, which illuminated a narrow path ahead. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of his engine humming softly. Sam's curiosity mingled with a growing sense of unease. Shadows danced at the periphery of his vision, and he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He tried to dismiss these sensations as mere paranoia, but deep down, he knew something was amiss. Just when he considered turning back, a flicker of movement caught his attention in the rearview mirror. He peered intently, his heart skipping a beat as he saw a figure standing by the side of the road. The silhouette was tall and slender, almost ethereal, its features obscured by the darkness. Sam's hands trembled as he slowed down, his instincts telling him to stay away, but an insatiable curiosity urged him to pull over and investigate. He reasoned that it could be someone in need of help, lost or stranded. With a deep breath, he brought the car to a stop, his headlights casting an eerie glow on the figure. As he stepped out of the car, a cold gust of wind sent a shiver down his spine. He approached the figure cautiously, his voice quivering as he called out, "Hello, do you need assistance?" There was no response. The figure remained motionless, a silent sentinel against the backdrop of the night. Sam's unease intensified, but he pressed on, inching closer with each step. He could now make out the figure's features, an old man with weathered skin and a tattered coat. "Sir, are you all right?" Sam's voice wavered with concern. Without warning, the figure turned its head, and Sam gasped in horror. The man's eyes were vacant, devoid of life. The moonlight revealed a ghastly pallor to his skin, and his lips were twisted into a macabre grin. Sam stumbled backward, his heart pounding in his chest. In a sudden burst of movement, the figure lunged at Sam, its ghostly hands outstretched. Sam screamed, his adrenaline surging as he darted back to his car. He fumbled with the keys, desperately trying to start the engine. The figure was relentless, clawing at the windows, leaving streaks of dirt and grime behind. Finally, the engine roared to life, and Sam sped away, leaving the haunted stretch of road behind him. His hands trembled on the steering wheel, and his breath came in ragged gasps. He glanced at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the figure chasing after him. But there was nothing. Only the darkness and the open road lay behind. Sam's heart pounded in his chest as he continued his escape from the haunted stretch of road. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the terrifying encounter he had just experienced. Questions flooded his thoughts. What was that figure? Was it a ghost? Or something even more sinister? Determined to find answers, Sam decided to seek out the local community and investigate the legends surrounding the road. He delved into the town's history, uncovering a dark tale that sent chills down his spine. According to the legend, a long-forgotten serial killer had once prowled the area, preying on unsuspecting travelers. The killer was said to have died years ago, but the story persisted as a cautionary tale. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Sam felt a mix of trepidation and determination. He couldn't let the fear consume him. He needed to confront the truth, no matter how horrifying it might be. Days turned into nights as Sam delved deeper into the mystery. He interviewed locals, visited libraries, and scoured old newspaper archives. The more he uncovered, the more he became entangled in a web of secrets and whispers. It seemed that every piece of information he gathered led to more questions. One stormy night, as he sat alone in his dimly lit study, a sudden knock at the door jolted him from his thoughts. Startled, he rose from his chair and cautiously made his way to the entrance. Peering through the peephole, he saw a man standing on his porch, his face obscured by the rain. Sam hesitated for a moment before opening the door. The stranger's drenched appearance and anxious demeanor piqued his curiosity. "I heard you've been digging into the legends," the man said, his voice filled with urgency. "You need to stop. It's not safe." Sam's eyes widened with surprise. "Who are you? How do you know about this?" The man took a step closer, his eyes darting nervously. "My name is Daniel. I grew up in this town, and I know things that most people don't. Trust me, there are forces at play here that you can't comprehend." Intrigued yet wary, Sam invited Daniel inside, and they huddled around the study, seeking refuge from the raging storm outside. Daniel revealed a hidden side of the town's history, one that few dared to acknowledge. He spoke of a malevolent presence that lingered in the shadows, its influence seeping into every facet of the community. As the night wore on, Sam and Daniel pieced together the puzzle, connecting the legend of the serial killer to a much darker secret. They discovered a pattern of disappearances that spanned decades, always occurring near the haunted stretch of road. Unbeknownst to them, the town's dark secret had taken notice of their investigation. Shadows danced at the edges of Sam's vision, and whispers filled the air, growing louder and more sinister with each passing moment. They were being watched. Just as they were about to unveil the truth, the lights in Sam's study flickered and died. The room was plunged into darkness, and a chilling silence settled in. Panic welled up within them as they realized they were not alone. The darkness enveloped Sam and Daniel, their hearts pounding with fear. Suddenly, a disembodied voice echoed through the room, sending shivers down their spines. "You should have left this alone," it hissed. In a desperate scramble, Sam and Daniel groped their way toward the door, their only thought to escape the clutches of the malevolent presence. But just as they reached the threshold, a bone-chilling gust of wind slammed the door shut, trapping them inside. Terrified and cornered, Sam and Daniel braced themselves for what seemed like an inevitable fate. But then, as if by some miracle, the lights flickered back to life, illuminating the room once more. The presence, weakened by the sudden surge of light, let out a blood-curdling scream and dissipated into nothingness. Gasping for breath, Sam and Daniel stumbled outside, the night air a welcome relief. They exchanged a glance, their faces etched with a mix of relief and disbelief. The malevolent force had been vanquished, and they had survived the ordeal. From that night forward, Sam and Daniel vowed to protect the town's secret, to ensure that no one else would fall victim to the darkness that lurked along the haunted stretch of road. They became guardians of the truth, watching over the town and its inhabitants, ready to face any future threats that may arise. As the years passed, the legend of the night drive and the haunted stretch of road faded into obscurity. It became nothing more than a whispered tale, a cautionary reminder of the darkness that could consume those who dared to delve too deep. But deep within their hearts, Sam and Daniel knew that the memory of that fateful night would forever haunt them, serving as a constant reminder of the thin line between curiosity and danger, and the courage it takes to confront the unknown. Brian was an adventurous soul, always seeking new thrills to satisfy his restless spirit. On a cool autumn evening, his craving for excitement led him to embark on a night drive through the secluded backroads of his small town. The moon cast an eerie glow on the winding path ahead, adding to the mysterious allure of the journey. As he maneuvered his car around the narrow curves, the silence of the night enveloped him. The only sound was the faint hum of his engine and the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. Brian's eyes darted from the road to the dense forest that flanked his path, their branches looming like skeletal fingers in the darkness. Suddenly, his headlights illuminated an abandoned cabin nestled deep within the woods. The sight intrigued him, and a mix of curiosity and unease crept into his mind. Against his better judgment, Brian decided to investigate, parking his car and venturing towards the dilapidated structure. The cabin creaked ominously as Brian pushed the door open. The musty smell of decay assaulted his senses, and he cautiously stepped inside. The interior was shrouded in darkness, save for a single ray of moonlight that filtered through a cracked window, revealing the outlines of old furniture and cobwebs. Something caught Brian's attention, a faded photograph on a dusty table. As he picked it up, he saw the image of a young girl with hauntingly beautiful eyes. A chill ran down his spine, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. With a quick glance over his shoulder, Brian hurriedly left the cabin, returning to the safety of his car. Uneasiness lingered in his mind as he continued his night drive, the road now seemingly more sinister than before. The shadows danced alongside him, playing tricks on his imagination. Suddenly, his headlights illuminated a figure standing in the middle of the road. Brian slammed on the brakes, his heart racing. The figure stood motionless, draped in a tattered white dress that billowed in the wind. It was the same girl from the photograph, the hauntingly beautiful girl with piercing eyes. Fear gripped Brian's chest, but his curiosity urged him to uncover the mystery surrounding her. He cautiously rolled down the window and called out to her, his voice trembling. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The girl's pale face turned towards him, her eyes empty and distant. In a barely audible whisper, she said, "Please, find my sister." Before Brian could respond, she vanished into thin air, leaving him bewildered and chilled to the bone. With a racing pulse, he knew he had to uncover the truth and find the girl's sister. But where to begin? Driven by a mix of fascination and dread, Brian scoured the town for any information about the mysterious sisters. After days of digging through old records and speaking with locals, he discovered a tragic tale that had long been buried in the town's history. Years ago, two sisters, Anna and Emily, had lived in the very cabin he had stumbled upon. Legend had it that they had been kidnapped and murdered, their bodies never found. The tragedy had cast a dark shadow over the town, and their spirits were said to haunt the woods. Determined to bring closure to their restless souls, Brian delved deeper into the unsolved case. He uncovered clues pointing to a reclusive old man, said to possess knowledge about the sisters' fate. Armed with this newfound information, Brian set out on another night drive, his heart heavy with anticipation. As he neared the man's secluded cottage, a sense of foreboding washed over him. The air grew thick with an unsettling silence, and the moonlight dimmed as if in warning. Brian hesitated, but his determination propelled him forward. He knocked on the cottage door, and after what felt like an eternity, the door creaked open. An old man, his eyes clouded with age, peered out. His gaze met Brian's, and a flicker of recognition crossed his face. "Anna, Emily, you've come for them, haven't you?" the old man whispered. Brian nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need to know the truth for their sake." The old man's weathered face softened, and he beckoned Brian inside. He revealed a tale of jealousy and betrayal, unraveling the chilling events that had led to the sisters' demise. With tears streaming down his face, the old man confessed his role in their tragic fate. As the night wore on, Brian listened to the old man's remorseful words, understanding the weight of his burden. With newfound closure, the spirits of Anna and Emily could finally rest. But as Brian left the cottage that night, the darkness seemed to cling to his every step. The night drive had forever changed him, leaving an indelible mark on his soul. And though the mystery had been solved, he couldn't shake the feeling that the spirits of the sisters still lingered, forever intertwined with his own destiny. It was a moonless night when I found myself embarking on a journey that would forever haunt my dreams. As a seasoned storyteller of terrifying tales, I had always been drawn to the darkness that lay hidden within the human psyche. However, this time, I would become an unwilling participant in a chilling narrative of my own. The chilling autumn air permeated the deserted train station as I awaited the arrival of the midnight train. I had received an anonymous tip about a murder that had taken place aboard this very train, and my curiosity had gotten the better of me. My name is Mason, and I have spent the past 30 years uncovering the darkest secrets, never revealing my true identity. As the train pulled into the station, I boarded with a mix of apprehension and excitement. The carriage was eerily silent, save for the rhythmic clatter of wheels on the tracks. I walked along the narrow corridor, peering into each compartment in search of any sign of foul play. The dim lighting cast long shadows that seemed to dance with malevolence. Just as I was about to give up hope, I stumbled upon a compartment at the far end of the carriage. The door was slightly ajar, and a faint glow emanated from within. With cautious steps, I pushed the door open and entered, feeling a shiver creep down my spine. Inside, I found myself in a scene of unimaginable horror. Blood stained the walls, the floor, and the seats. A lifeless body lay slumped against the window, its vacant eyes staring into nothingness. The gruesome sight sent a wave of nausea crashing over me, but I knew I had to push forward. I reached for my phone to call the authorities, but to my horror, I discovered that I had no signal. Panic washed over me as the realization dawned that I was trapped in this nightmare with no means of escape. The only option left was to continue my investigation. I rummaged through the victim's belongings, searching for any clue that might lead me to the truth. Among the personal effects, I discovered a journal tucked away in a hidden compartment. Its pages were filled with cryptic entries, each one more chilling than the last. The author described a sense of impending doom, a feeling that they were being watched. As I delved deeper into the journal, I began to unravel a web of deceit and betrayal. It seemed that the victim had stumbled upon a dangerous secret, one that someone was willing to kill to protect. But who was the killer? And why did they choose this train as the stage for their macabre act? Suddenly, a noise outside the compartment snapped me back to reality. Footsteps echoed through the corridor, growing louder and more menacing with each passing moment. I knew I had to hide, to blend into the darkness and become a silent observer. I extinguished the light, plunging the compartment into darkness, and pressed myself against the wall. The footsteps drew nearer, and my heart pounded in my chest. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside, their presence suffocating the air. The figure moved stealthily through the compartment, its silhouette barely discernible in the darkness. I held my breath, praying that it wouldn't discover my presence. The intruder seemed to be searching for something, their movements methodical and deliberate. As the seconds ticked by like an eternity, I strained my senses to catch any clue that would unveil the identity of the killer. Suddenly, a soft whisper escaped the intruder's lips, sending a chill down my spine. "You can't hide forever, Mason," the voice hissed, dripping with menace and familiarity. My heart froze. How did they know my name? The realization hit me like a freight train. The killer wasn't a stranger. They were someone who knew me, someone who had discovered my secret identity. Panic mingled with dread as I wondered how deep the web of deception truly went. The footsteps drew closer to my hiding place, and I pressed myself further into the darkness, desperately praying that I would go unnoticed. The intruder stopped just a few feet away, their presence looming like a shadowy specter. I could hear their labored breathing, the sound of anticipation hanging heavy in the air. Time stood still as the intruder's hand reached out, fingertips brushing against the wall, inching closer to my concealed form. In that moment, I knew that I had to make a choice: stay hidden and risk becoming the next victim, or confront the darkness head-on. Summoning every ounce of courage within me, I stepped out from the shadows, confronting the killer face to face. The room was filled with a pregnant silence as our eyes locked in a battle of wills. Recognition flickered in their gaze, mingled with a sinister satisfaction. "You've been meddling in affairs that don't concern you, Mason," the killer sneered, their voice dripping with venom. "But tonight, the game ends." I stood my ground, refusing to be intimidated by their threats. "Who are you? What is this all about?" I demanded, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and determination. A malevolent smile spread across their face, revealing a glimmer of sadistic pleasure. "You should have never boarded this train, Mason. Now you'll pay the price for your curiosity." Before I could react, the killer lunged at me, a gleaming blade glinting in the pale moonlight. Instinct kicked in, and I fought back with every ounce of strength I possessed. A desperate struggle ensued, the confined space of the compartment becoming a battlefield of life and death. Finally, with a surge of adrenaline, I managed to gain the upper hand, disarming the killer and forcing them to the ground. Their masks slipped, revealing a face I never expected to see, the face of a trusted friend, a confidant. "Why, Sarah?" I gasped, my voice choked with disbelief. Sarah had been by my side throughout my journey as a storyteller, a loyal companion. I couldn't fathom how she could be capable of such darkness. A sinister laughter escaped her lips, devoid of remorse. "You were always the master of suspense, Mason, but tonight, the tables have turned. I've written an ending for you, one that you won't survive." In a moment of desperation, I scrambled for the discarded blade, knowing that my only chance at survival lay in fighting back. As I raised the weapon, ready to defend myself, the train hurtled through a tunnel, plunging the compartment into pitch-black darkness. The scuffle continued, the sounds of struggle echoing through the void. When the train emerged from the tunnel, the compartment fell silent. The fight had come to an end, leaving behind a trail of shattered dreams and broken lives. As the authorities boarded the train, drawn by the commotion, they found me standing over the lifeless body of Sarah, my heart heavy with grief. The truth about the murder on the night train would never be fully revealed. It would remain a mystery, buried in the depths of darkness, just like the secrets I had spent a lifetime uncovering. And so, I returned to my life as a storyteller, haunted by the events of that fateful night, forever preserving the secret of my own involvement in the tale. The night was cloaked in a thick blanket of darkness as I stood on the deserted platform, waiting for the late-night train. This time, I wasn't on a quest for a macabre story to tell. I was simply traveling to visit my ailing grandmother in a distant town. Little did I know that this seemingly ordinary night would soon transform into a chilling nightmare. As I stepped aboard the train, a wave of unease washed over me. The atmosphere inside the carriage was heavy, suffused with an eerie silence. The dimly lit compartments seemed to whisper secrets to one another, and the flickering lights cast unsettling shadows that danced along the walls. Finding my seat, I settled in, hoping for an uneventful journey. But fate had other plans in store. As the train began to move, a feeling of foreboding settled deep within me. The rhythmic sound of the wheels on the tracks only intensified the growing unease. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to explore the train in an attempt to shake off the creeping sense of dread. Walking down the narrow corridor, I peered into each compartment, expecting to find nothing more than weary travelers lost in their thoughts. However, as I approached the last compartment, a flickering light caught my attention. The door was slightly ajar, and an inexplicable force drew me closer. With hesitant steps, I pushed open the door and entered, my heart pounding in my chest. Inside, I found myself in a scene straight out of a nightmare. The walls were smeared with blood, the air thick with the stench of death. A shiver ran down my spine as my eyes fell upon a lifeless body slumped against the window, its face contorted in a frozen mask of terror. A surge of adrenaline coursed through my veins as I reached for my phone to call for help. But as I frantically searched my pockets, I realized with growing horror that my phone was missing. Panic gripped me as I realized the train was hurtling through a remote area with no means of communication. The weight of the situation pressed down upon me, and I knew that I had to find answers. I began to search the compartment for any clues that might shed light on what had transpired. Among the scattered belongings, I discovered a crumpled note hidden beneath a discarded jacket. With trembling hands, I unfolded the note and read its ominous contents. It detailed a sinister game, a twisted experiment conducted by an unknown entity on this very train. The victims were chosen at random, and the only way to survive was to unravel the mysteries hidden within the compartments. A cold realization dawned upon me. I was now a player in this terrifying game of life and death. The compartment door slammed shut behind me, trapping me inside. Darkness enveloped the space, leaving me with nothing but my wits and a burning desire to survive. Heart pounding, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the horrors that awaited me within the confines of the train. The note had revealed that each compartment held its own puzzle, its own macabre challenge that needed to be solved in order to progress. I had no choice but to play along if I hoped to survive. With trepidation, I moved towards the first compartment, my mind racing with a mix of fear and determination. As I entered, the atmosphere shifted, becoming suffocatingly oppressive. The air seemed to thicken, making it difficult to breathe, as if the very space itself conspired against me. The compartment was dimly lit, the flickering bulb casting eerie shadows on the walls. My eyes fell upon a cryptic message scrawled across the window. a riddle that held the key to my escape. It spoke of hidden clues, obscure symbols, and a time limit that added an extra layer of urgency. Driven by a surge of adrenaline, I combed through every inch of the compartment, desperately searching for any signs or symbols that might provide a clue. The minutes slipped away, each one laced with a sense of impending doom. But just as despair began to set in, my fingers brushed against a small object tucked away beneath the seat. Pulling it out, I realized it was a worn diary, its pages filled with faded ink and cryptic writings. It belonged to a previous victim of this deadly game, someone who had fought against the darkness that lurked within these train walls. Their writings hinted at a hidden compartment, one that held the key to unraveling the mystery. My heart quickened with hope as I followed their clues, my fingers tracing the walls, searching for the elusive entrance. And then I found it. A small panel, cleverly concealed behind a loose piece of wallpaper. With trembling hands, I pried it open, revealing a hidden compartment filled with an array of strange objects. Among the items, my eyes locked onto an ornate key, intricately carved and seemingly imbued with significance. Instinctively, I knew it was the key to my freedom from this sinister train. With renewed determination, I clutched it tightly, ready to face the next challenge. As I moved on to the next compartment, the puzzles grew more complex, testing not only my wit, but also my nerves. Each room presented a unique trial, from deciphering enigmatic codes to facing gruesome tests of courage. The presence of an unseen antagonist loomed over me, their intention to break my spirit evident in the malevolent traps set along the way. Hours blurred into an amalgamation of fear and survival, my mind and body pushed to their limits. With each successful puzzle solved, a glimmer of hope pierced through the darkness. But the thought of the unknown adversary, lurking in the shadows, reminded me that my journey was far from over. Finally, as I reached the last compartment, a sense of both dread and anticipation consumed me. I braced myself for the final trial that would determine my fate. The door creaked open, revealing a chamber suffused with an otherworldly glow. Standing at the center was a figure, shrouded in darkness, their face obscured by a tattered cloak. They spoke in a voice that sent shivers down my spine, a voice that hinted at the true nature of this twisted game. "You have come far, seeker of truth," they said, their words dripping with malice. "But to claim your freedom, you must face the ultimate sacrifice." A surge of defiance coursed through me, fueled by the desire to survive and expose the truth behind this nightmarish ordeal. I refused to be a pawn in their sadistic game any longer. With a burst of courage, I lunged at the figure, wresting control away from them. In the ensuing struggle, their cloaks slipped, revealing a face that mirrored my own, a doppelganger, an embodiment of my darkest fears and desires. As we grappled, locked in a battle of wills, a sudden burst of light filled the compartment. The train screeched to a halt, and the authorities stormed in, drawn by the chaos within. The doppelganger, my tormentor, vanished into thin air, leaving behind a sense of lingering malevolence. The nightmare had come to an end, but the scars it had left upon my psyche would endure. In the aftermath, the truth behind the deadly game was unveiled. A twisted experiment orchestrated by a deranged individual seeking to explore the depths of human resilience. Justice would be served, and the victims of this cruel game would find solace in knowing that their tormentor had been apprehended. As for me, I emerged from that nightmarish journey forever changed. The memories of that night would haunt me, a reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that resides within us all. And so I returned to my role as a storyteller, weaving tales that straddled the line between reality and the macabre. But deep down, I knew that the most terrifying story I had ever experienced was the one that would forever remain locked within the confines of that night train. Kane's heart pounded as he made his way through the dense foliage of the dark forest. He had always been drawn to the mysteries of nature, but this forest held a special allure for him. Legends and rumors swirled around its ancient trees, whispering tales of lost souls, eerie sounds, and inexplicable phenomena. Kane had heard stories of people who had entered the forest and never returned, their bodies never found. Despite the warnings, he couldn't resist the call of the unknown. He was determined to uncover the truth behind the forest's dark reputation. Armed with his camera and a backpack filled with supplies, Kane ventured deeper into the forest. The air grew heavy, and the usual sounds of birds and rustling leaves were replaced by an unnerving silence. It felt as if the forest itself was holding its breath, watching his every move. As he walked further, the trees seemed to close in around him, their branches forming a twisted canopy overhead. Shadows danced menacingly, making it difficult for Kane to discern what was real and what was a trick of the mind. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick foliage, casting an eerie gloom over the surroundings. Kane's heart raced, his senses on high alert. Suddenly, he heard a rustling noise to his right. He froze, his gaze fixed on the source of the sound. Slowly, a deer emerged from the underbrush, its eyes wide with fear. Kane relaxed slightly, relieved by the presence of another living being in this desolate place. As he continued his trek, Kane stumbled upon an old abandoned cabin. Its weathered wooden exterior and broken windows exuded an air of desolation. Intrigued, Kane cautiously approached the cabin, his camera ready to capture any clues that might lie within. The door creaked ominously as Kane pushed it open. Inside, he discovered a disheveled room, covered in layers of dust and cobwebs. Furniture lay in ruins, and the walls were adorned with faded photographs and strange symbols scratched into the wood. Kane's curiosity intensified, and he meticulously photographed every inch of the cabin. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, but he pressed on, determined to solve the forest's mysteries. Just as he was about to leave, his eye caught a glimmer of light reflecting off something hidden beneath a floorboard. With trembling hands, he pried open the loose board, revealing a worn leather journal. Its pages were filled with cryptic entries, detailing encounters with the supernatural, unexplained disappearances, and sightings of strange creatures. As Kane skimmed through the journal, a sense of dread washed over him. The writer had warned of an ancient curse that befell anyone who delved too deep into the secrets of the forest. The curse, it was said, consumed the souls of the lost, trapping them in an eternal purgatory within the forest's depths. Haunted by the journal's revelations, Kane knew he had stumbled upon something far more sinister than he had ever imagined. He had unwittingly stepped into a realm where reality and nightmares intertwined, and now he had become part of the forest's dark legacy. Fear gripped Kane's heart, but his determination to unravel the forest's secrets outweighed his growing unease. He knew he had to uncover the truth and put an end to the curse that had ensnared countless souls before him. Armed with the newfound knowledge from the journal, Kane embarked on a relentless quest for answers. He sought out local historians, delved into old newspaper archives, and interviewed those who had lived near the forest for generations. Piece by piece, Kane unraveled the tangled web of dark events that had taken place in the forest over the years. He discovered tales of ancient rituals, unsolved murders, and strange disappearances that had plagued the surrounding communities. Through his investigations, Kane came across an elderly man named Samuel, who had spent his entire life living near the edge of the dark forest. Samuel's weathered face held a mix of caution and curiosity as he listened to Kane's findings. "You're treading on dangerous ground, son," Samuel warned, his voice laced with concern. "The forest holds secrets that are better left untouched. There's an evil presence that lurks within, and it won't take kindly to those who try to expose it." Undeterred, Kane pressed Samuel for more information. With a heavy sigh, Samuel began recounting a story from his youth, a tale whispered among the elders, but rarely spoken aloud. Decades ago, a group of adventurers had ventured into the dark forest, much like Kane, seeking answers to the forest's mysteries. They were never seen again, and their disappearance had sent shockwaves through the community. Rumors of curses and malevolent spirits began to spread, instilling fear and trepidation in the hearts of the locals. Samuel's voice trembled as he revealed a shocking detail. His brother, Jonathan, had been one of the ill-fated adventurers. Jonathan had left behind a trail of journal entries, eerily similar to the one Cain had found in the abandoned cabin. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, Cain realized that he was following in Jonathan's footsteps. The dark forest had claimed Jonathan's life, and now it threatened to do the same to Cain. Determined not to meet the same fate, Cain made a bold decision. He gathered a group of seasoned explorers, each with their own reasons for venturing into the forest. Some sought fame, others redemption, but all were united by an unyielding desire to confront the evil that resided within. Together, they braved the dense undergrowth, navigating the treacherous paths that seemed to shift and twist with each step. The forest fought back, throwing obstacles in their path and distorting their senses. But Cain and his companions persisted, their resolve unshaken. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the heart of the dark forest, a place where the air was heavy with an otherworldly presence. Shadows danced in a macabre ballet, and a foreboding stillness settled over the group. As they cautiously moved forward, a voice echoed through the forest, chilling them to their core. It spoke of ancient curses, vengeful spirits, and the insatiable hunger of the forest for human souls. Cain's heart pounded in his chest as he confronted the embodiment of the forest's malevolence. With every fiber of his being, he resisted the temptation to succumb to fear. He locked eyes with the entity, determined to break the cycle of darkness that had consumed so many before him. In a moment of sheer defiance, Cain spoke with a resolute voice. "I will not be another lost soul trapped in this forest. I will reveal your secrets and free those who have fallen prey to your curse." With those words, the forest trembled, its grip loosening as if acknowledging Cain's unwavering determination. The malevolent entity recoiled, unable to withstand the light of truth and the strength of human will. As the forest released its hold, Cain and his companions emerged from its depths, forever changed by their harrowing journey. They vowed to share their findings, to shed light on the forest's dark secrets, and to warn others of the peril that awaited within. And so, the tale of the dark forest lived on, a cautionary reminder of the delicate balance between curiosity and the allure of the unknown. Cain's journey had come to an end, but his legacy endured, etched into the annals of the forest's haunted history. Gabriel had always been drawn to the mysteries of the natural world. His fascination with forests led him to explore various woodlands, but none intrigued him as much as the infamous dark forest. It was rumored to be a place of inexplicable occurrences and eerie happenings. Determined to unravel its secrets, Gabriel embarked on a journey that would forever change his life. As Gabriel entered the dark forest, a shiver ran down his spine. The dense foliage blocked out the sunlight, casting a perpetual gloom over the forest floor. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant hoot of an owl. It was a place where the wild and untamed reigned supreme. Undeterred by the eerie atmosphere, Gabriel pressed on, following a narrow path that seemed to appear out of nowhere. The deeper he ventured, the more he felt a strange presence lurking in the shadows. It was as if unseen eyes were watching his every move. Hours turned into days, and Gabriel's determination remained unyielding. He documented his findings meticulously, noting peculiar animal behavior, peculiar markings on trees, and unexplained natural phenomena. It was as if the forest itself was alive and responding to his presence. One moonlit night, Gabriel set up camp near a small clearing. As he stared into the crackling fire, a chilling breeze swept through the forest, extinguishing the flames. A sense of unease washed over him as darkness engulfed his surroundings. A voice whispered on the wind, barely audible yet unmistakably real. "Leave this place, Gabriel," the voice seemed to say. "This forest holds secrets that are best left undiscovered." Determined to uncover the truth, Gabriel defied the warning and continued his exploration. Every step brought him deeper into the heart of the dark forest, where the mysteries grew more perplexing. One morning, as Gabriel followed a faint trail, he stumbled upon an ancient stone altar hidden amidst a cluster of trees. Carvings adorned its weathered surface, depicting scenes of a forgotten civilization. Gabriel's heart raced as he realized the significance of his discovery. This place was steeped in history. As Gabriel studied the enigmatic carvings, a low growl reverberated through the air. He turned to see a pair of glowing eyes staring at him from the shadows. His blood ran cold as a massive black wolf emerged, its gaze unwavering. Gabriel knew he had trespassed on something sacred, something beyond his comprehension. Before Gabriel could react, the wolf lunged, its fangs bared. Instinct kicked in, and he sprinted through the dense undergrowth, feeling the beast's hot breath on his heels. The chase seemed endless, as if the forest itself conspired to keep him captive. Finally, Gabriel stumbled upon a hidden cave entrance. He dove inside, narrowly escaping the relentless pursuit of the wolf. Breathing heavily, he realized he had stumbled upon a sanctuary, an underground chamber untouched by time. Inside the cave, ancient artifacts lay scattered, remnants of a forgotten era. The walls were adorned with intricate paintings, each one depicting a different aspect of the dark forest's haunting outer. Gabriel felt a mixture of awe and dread as he absorbed the magnitude of his discovery. However, his fascination was cut short by a chilling realization. He was not alone in the cave. Another presence, one more ominous than any he had encountered before, lurked in the shadows. Gabriel's heart raced as he strained his senses, trying to discern the nature of the presence in the cave. A voice, ancient and raspy, echoed through the chamber. "Gabriel," it whispered, sending shivers down his spine. "You have delved too deep. You have trespassed upon sacred ground." Fear gripped Gabriel, but his curiosity pushed him to respond. "Who are you? What secrets does this forest hold?" The voice chuckled, a sound devoid of mirth. "The secrets of the dark forest are not for mortals to know. It is a place of darkness, where the boundary between the living and the dead is blurred." Gabriel's mind raced, trying to comprehend the enormity of what he had stumbled upon. The forest held a power far beyond his understanding, a power that could consume him if he wasn't careful. "Leave this place," the voice warned again, "or else face the consequences of your curiosity." Gabriel hesitated, torn between his insatiable desire for knowledge and the instinct to flee. But deep down, he knew the voice spoke the truth. The dark forest was not meant for him. It held secrets too potent, too dangerous to be uncovered. With a heavy heart, Gabriel retreated from the cave, retracing his steps through the labyrinthine passages of the forest. The once alluring mysteries now seemed like ominous warnings, urging him to escape while he still could. As he emerged from the confines of the dark forest, Gabriel felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had narrowly escaped the clutches of a force beyond his comprehension, and now he understood the price he could have paid for his curiosity. But the dark forest had left an indelible mark on Gabriel's soul. Its secrets, though unexplored, would forever haunt his dreams. The experience had taught him the importance of respecting the boundaries of the natural world, of acknowledging that some realms were best left untouched. In the years that followed, Gabriel became an advocate for the preservation of forests and their delicate ecosystems. He dedicated his life to studying and protecting these enigmatic spaces, but the memory of the dark forest remained a constant reminder of the fine line between curiosity and recklessness. And so, Gabriel's journey through the dark forest came to an end, leaving him forever changed. The allure of the unknown would always beckon to him, but he now understood the wisdom of restraint and the dangers that lurked in the shadows. Daniel was an adventurous soul who always sought out the thrill of exploring the unknown. His latest endeavor led him deep into the heart of a dense forest known as the Dark Forest. Legends and stories surrounding this place were whispered among the locals, painting a picture of a mysterious and foreboding landscape. Undeterred by the tales, Daniel saw it as an opportunity to embark on a truly captivating adventure. As Daniel ventured deeper into the forest, a sense of unease began to creep up on him. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy overhead, casting eerie shadows that danced on the forest floor. Every rustle of leaves and crack of twigs amplified his apprehension. Still, he pushed forward, curiosity driving him deeper into the unknown. Hours turned into days as Daniel trekked through the dark forest, his determination unwavering. The forest seemed to come alive around him, with the whispering wind carrying eerie voices and the occasional glimpse of eyes peering from the darkness. It was as if the forest itself was aware of his presence. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel stumbled upon an old, dilapidated cabin nestled deep within the woods. The structure appeared abandoned, its decaying walls and broken windows giving it a haunting presence. The flickering light of his flashlight revealed a sense of desolation within. Curiosity piqued, Daniel cautiously stepped inside, his heart pounding in his chest. The interior was in disarray, covered in layers of dust and debris. Broken furniture and cobwebs adorned the rooms, adding to the eerie atmosphere. But amidst the chaos, Daniel discovered a diary, hidden beneath a pile of forgotten belongings. With trembling hands, Daniel opened the diary and began reading the entries. The words painted a picture of a previous resident named Samuel, who had come to the dark forest in search of solace. As Daniel delved deeper into the diary, he discovered Samuel's descent into madness, his obsession with the forest, and its dark secrets consuming his every thought. As the last entry came to an end, Daniel realized that he was not alone in the cabin. A chilling breath brushed against his neck, sending shivers down his spine. He turned around, only to find himself face to face with a shadowy figure, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly intensity. Daniel froze in fear as the shadowy figure loomed over him. Its presence was suffocating, and he could feel a palpable malevolence emanating from it. He desperately searched for an escape route, but found himself cornered, trapped within the confines of the eerie cabin. As the figure drew closer, Daniel's mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. Had he stumbled upon something he wasn't meant to discover? Was there a reason the dark forest held such a sinister reputation? The weight of uncertainty pressed upon him, making it difficult to think clearly. With a sudden burst of courage, Daniel mustered the strength to speak, his voice trembling. "Who are you? What do you want?" The figure remained silent, its piercing gaze fixed on Daniel. A chilling breeze swept through the cabin, causing the flickering candles to dance and casting eerie shadows on the walls. The atmosphere became heavy with an ominous presence. Seconds turned into an eternity as Daniel awaited a response. Just as he was about to surrender to despair, a low, haunting voice echoed through the room, chilling him to the core. "You have trespassed upon sacred ground, Daniel. The secrets of the dark forest are not meant for mortal souls." Daniel's heart pounded in his chest as realization washed over him. The tales and legends had not been mere fables. They held a grain of truth. Fear and regret gnawed at his insides, knowing that his curiosity had led him into a world he could not comprehend. "Please," Daniel pleaded, his voice filled with desperation. "I didn't mean any harm. I was only seeking adventure, exploring the unknown." The figure's eyes seemed to soften, revealing a hint of sorrow. "Ignorance is not an excuse, Daniel. The dark forest harbors ancient secrets, powers beyond mortal comprehension. It is a place where darkness reigns, and those who venture too far often lose themselves." Daniel's gaze dropped, guilt and remorse flooding his being. He now understood the consequences of his actions, the repercussions of his curiosity. He had awakened something in the depths of the dark forest, and now he would have to face the consequences. The figure slowly retreated, fading into the shadows. "Consider this a warning, Daniel," the voice echoed. "Leave this place and never return." Forget what you have seen, for the dark forest will not forget you." And just like that, the figure vanished, leaving Daniel alone in the desolate cabin. Trembling with a mixture of fear and relief, he gathered his belongings and made his way back through the forest, vowing to heed the warning and never again seek the secrets that lay within the dark forest. From that day forward, Daniel carried the weight of the encounter with him, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked in the world. The dark forest remained a place shrouded in mystery, a place he knew he could never fully comprehend. And though he moved on with his life, a lingering unease remained, a constant reminder of the thin line between curiosity and the unfathomable horrors that lie beneath.